rooftop smelled of cedar and money. That was the first thing Nathaniel Holt noticed when he stepped through the glass doors onto the 42nd floor terrace of the Callaway Tower. The dense, polished scent of wealth arranged carefully over the city, the way expensive rooms always tried to pretend they hadn't been built by ordinary hands. He adjusted the collar of his dress shirt. It was the one his sister had pressed for him the night before, hunting through his closet with the exasperated efficiency of a woman who knew he owned exactly 2 button-downs that still had all their buttons. He was grateful for it now. Around him, the crowd moved in the slow, deliberate way of people who understood they were being observed. Callaway Dynamics hosted the Meridian Foundation Gala every summer. The charity supported STEM education in underserved school districts, a cause Nathaniel believed in genuinely, though he had come tonight not as a believer but as a contractor. He was 3 weeks into a facilities upgrade contract, rewiring the backup power systems on the building's lower floors. He'd been invited by the project coordinator as a courtesy. He hadn't expected to come. Then, his daughter had found the invitation on the kitchen table. "Dad." "It says rooftop." Lily had looked up at him with the particular gravity of a 7-year-old who has identified something important. "We've never been to a rooftop." And so, here they were. Lily stood beside him now, wearing a yellow dress that had been white until an encounter with a felt-tip marker 3 months ago. The stain, shaped vaguely like a tulip, had been elevated by his sister's quick thinking into a deliberate design. Lily wore it with the confidence of someone who had always known the dress was supposed to look exactly this way. She was taking in the crowd with the focused attention she brought to everything, the careful, cataloging gaze that Nathaniel recognized as something she had not inherited from him. He was a man of motion. Lily was a girl of observation. She watched before she moved. The gala's guest of honor stood near the eastern railing, half turned toward the city skyline. Nathaniel had seen Carolyn Ashford's photograph on the project briefing documents. She was the CEO of Callaway Dynamics, founder of the Meridian Foundation, and by most accounts, the most formidable person in a room that had no shortage of formidable people. In the photograph, she had seemed composed and distant, the way executives often looked when they were posing for something they wished was already over. In person, she was more precise than that. She wore navy with clean lines. Her dark hair was pulled back without ceremony. She was speaking to 2 men from the foundation's board, her posture attentive and slightly closed, the body language of someone who was listening, and simultaneously somewhere else entirely. Nathaniel reached for Lily's hand on instinct. She had already let go and taken 3 steps toward the lemonade stand. "Stay where I can see you," he said, not loudly. Lily raised one hand in acknowledgement without turning around. He watched her pour herself a cup, study the surface of the liquid for a moment, the way she studied everything, and then drift with the unmistakable casualness of a child who has already decided where she is going toward the eastern railing, toward Carolyn Ashford. Nathaniel moved. Not fast enough. He reached the railing in time to hear his daughter say, in the perfectly clear, perfectly earnest voice she used when she had decided something mattered. "My dad says you used to smile like that." In pictures, the 2 board members had gone quiet. Carolyn Ashford had turned from the skyline and was looking down at Lily with an expression Nathaniel could not immediately read. Something had moved through it quickly. Surprise, maybe, or something older than surprise, and then the composure had settled back into place like water closing over a stone. "What pictures?" Carolyn asked. Her voice was measured. "Careful. From the hospital." Lily held her lemonade with both hands. "There's a picture in a frame at our house, a lady smiling at a camera in a hallway. Dad says she looked kind." One of the board members, an older man named Garrett Winslow, who sat on 3 foundation boards and had attended every gala since. The first one leaned slightly toward the other and said, "Almost not at all. Remarkable resemblance." It was the kind of comment that spreads. It moved through the nearby cluster of guests the way weather moves not seen, only felt, until suddenly the air has changed. 3 people turned. Then, 5. Eyes moved between the little girl in the yellow dress and the woman in navy by the railing. The same dark eyes, the same angle of the jaw, the same slight tilt of the head when uncertain. The resemblance was not absolute. It was the kind that required a second look and then refused to let go. Nathaniel arrived at his daughter's side. "Lily, Dad?" She looked up at him. "I told her about the picture." Carolyn Ashford raised her eyes to his. She was not quite his height. Her composure was intact, but something underneath it was working hard. "I've never seen your daughter before," she said. The statement came out organized and controlled. "I don't know what picture she's referring to." "I know," Nathaniel said. "Then you should explain." "I can." He met her gaze steadily. Around them, the crowd had developed the particular stillness of people pretending not to watch something they very much intended to watch. But not here. He paused. "There are things you may have forgotten, Miss Ashford. Not because of carelessness. I think you just never knew the end of the story." Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "What story?" He looked at his daughter, who was studying the lemon pulp at the bottom of her cup with her full attention. He looked back at Carolyn. "The one that began 8 years ago," he said. "In June, at a clinic in Harrowfield. 8 years before, Carolyn Ashford had been 29 years old, mid-MBA, and broke in the specific way that people are broke when they are spending every available dollar on becoming something. She had been sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with a woman named Priscilla, who waitressed nights and studied environmental law during the day, and who had a gift for finding ways to make rent that did not involve asking anyone for anything. It was Priscilla who had clipped the ad from the weekly health circular and left it on the kitchen counter without comment. Egg donation. Anonymous. Compensation for qualified donors. Carolyn had read it 3 times. Then she had called. She had done her research. The way she did research on everything, methodically and without sentiment. She understood the process. She understood the anonymity. She understood that she would sign papers ensuring she would have no legal relationship to any child born from the donation, and she had signed them with a clear hand. She had needed the money. She had also, in some quieter part of herself that she did not examine very often, wanted to do something that mattered during those years when mattering felt very far away. The clinic was small and clean, staffed by people who were professional and kind. She had gone 3 times. The final appointment was on the 14th of June. The clinic coordinator, a soft-spoken woman in her 50s, had told her the donation cycle was complete and thanked her with a warmth that seemed genuine. There had been a photograph taken, a standard donor file photograph in the corridor outside the lab. Carolyn had smiled because someone had asked her to. She had never thought about it again. Or rather, she had thought about it the way you think about a decision you have made cleanly and closed behind you. It was not something she revisited. There was nothing, she had told herself, to revisit. She had not known about Elena Holt. Elena had been 33 when she and Nathaniel began the IVF process. They had tried for 2 years on their own, and then for another year with medical support, before a specialist at Harrowfield Fertility Center had suggested donor eggs. Elena had been reluctant at first, not from vanity, Nathaniel always said, but because she felt she was asking too much of someone she would never be able to thank. Eventually, she had agreed. They had reviewed the anonymous donor profiles carefully, choosing not on statistics alone but on the small, human details the profiles allowed. A love of building things. A habit of reading until very late. A photograph in a hospital corridor of a woman smiling at a camera in a way that looked honest. Lily had been born in the spring. She had come out healthy and loud and already looking, as Nathaniel's mother had said, with a mixture of wonder and something close to relief. Like she knew exactly what she was doing here. Elena had lived to see Lily's 3rd birthday. The cancer had been diagnosed 6 months after Lily was born, caught at a stage that allowed them time but not enough of it. She had died on a Thursday in October, at home, with Nathaniel beside her. She had made him promise, among other things, not to spend the rest of his life looking backward. He had kept the photograph because Lily had asked about it once, very young, with the instinctive curiosity of a child.